everyone. It is, what are we, Saturday, November 30th. Welcome to St. Thomas. U.S. Virgin Islands.
You just went parasailing for the last 3.5 hours. Alright, hey, do we take care of you guys today or what? Alright, okay. Please take care of us. We're going to have a tip to right from you guys to some fun. This next part is very important. For us to get off this boat, this step onto that dock right there, that dock's much like the airport. So it's very secure. What you guys do is a ship card and a photo ID. That's a ship card ID. Photo ID. And that photo ID is your passport picture. Just go ahead and hold it up to that passport picture. Okay? So, on behalf of that, concentrate, let's see if we can get the rest of the crew. Guys, thank you so much for following us today. Hope to see you next time we see you. Have a good trip, everybody.
So where are we?
We are at St. Thomas,
St. Thomas.
U.S. Virgin Islands.
And there is our ship that we're all up close to.
Pulling my scab off. They do that all the time. Oscar is a blue and gold macaw. He comes from Central and South America and has also been known to fly through the southern part of the Caribbean. Like all of my birds, Oscar has been hand-raised. Now, hand-raising a parrot is very similar to bottle-feeding a little puppy dog or a little kitten from the day they were born. Because of this, it builds an incredible bond between the bird and the human caretaker. Now, when I say hand-raise a parrot, I mean you feed these guys every 4 hours around the clock with a little spoon or a little syringe for 6 to 8 months. It's like raising a real kid. Now, I'm going to show you right now just how much this bird loves me and trusts me. Are you ready to show off? Okay. Hang on. You can swing them all around, not worry about losing a finger. Of course, Oscar, he crosses his feet praying I don't let go. I don't blame him one bit. Now, this is actually very natural. We have feet, hands, mouths, all we have is 2 feet and a beak. We have to use this bad boy for a lot of things in the wild. You ready? Woo! Just like a baby. Now, this is actually also very natural. What's interesting is during season, we work a lot, okay? Because all the cruise ships come in and then they leave right before hurricane season and head to other ports. And then, of course, the hotels, lose their occupancy. So during the summer, we have a lot more days off. Well, these guys, since they've been hand-raised, they've been going to work all their life, and they're around people all the time. So they get a little ticked off in the summer when they're in their cage a little bit more. Even though I have these big, gigantic walk-in aviaries that are like huge, they still want to see people. So what I do is my girlfriends and I take them to the beach. They love the beach. And that's where I learned that this is natural. Because you'll get 2 macaws together, and these crazy things will hold on to each other and roll around in the sand, just like 2 puppy dogs. They also remind me of beavers, because they'll find a rock or a shell, and if they feel comfortable enough, they'll lay on their back and put the little rock here and play with it with their feet and all of that. It's hysterical to watch them. Now, this is all about trust. Are you ready, big boy? Here we go. Okay, here we go. Ooh. Now, I can't see because of those lights. So, 2. There we go. I don't want to drop them. Yeah, I know I can't see. I'm sorry. 1 more. Well, that's a lot of trust. Big time. Okay, swing him by his tail. But Oscar's favorite thing to do is, are you ready, big guy? Here we go. It stands. Everyone got it? Okay, here we go. And that's my boy Oscar. I'm going to explain that in just a minute here, okay? Now, Oscar is a macaw and Amazons, and you have your conures, your cockatoos, and all of that. Well, I don't have a clue what sex Oscar is, because with macaws, you literally have to like cut their toenail, fill a little tube up, and set it off like doing DNA in order to find out they're male or female. I believe he is a male, because I've owned him for 28 years, and he's never laid an egg. Whereas Miss Frisk, a cockatoo, you can tell the sex of a man, but not till they're a year and a half old. That's why my birds are all named really strange names. For instance, my 2 little personal pets that are in the house, the female is Rocky and the male is Crystal. But that's okay, it runs in the family. My name is Sean. Because the eyes stay black on the males, the female's eyes, a year and a half after they're born, turn blood red. But all the other species, you literally, Amazons and the conures, you have to send blood work in, with the exception of the eclectus parrot. One bird is red and one bird is green. They look like dog. So that's how you tell the sex of them. Now, age-wise, like I said, these 2, this guy right here is 43 years old. They live about 50 to 60 years. He's getting up there. His love of his life is only 17, but that's the bird world. These 2 beauties over here, which are macaws, they are both 18. They are my youngins. And as you can see, they are very social animals. They are always grooming each other. Now, Babalu here had a hard time during the hurricanes. The first one was fine. The second hurricane, he got a little bit nervous and started plucking his feathers out. There's nothing you can do about it. We were in my hurricane bunker, but all the noise and stuff just got to him. So he's going through a real big molt right now. He must have like 50 brand new feathers coming in. So Chili Pepper is grooming him, because what happens, these feathers are full of blood, and then as they grow, the blood part of it dries out and turns into like a waxy straw. So what she's doing is she's delicately going along those feather shafts and getting rid of the white, which you're going to see on the floor. You'll see like a white shavings and stuff, and that's so they always groom each other. Very, very important, because they're extremely social birds, and that is one thing that we never ever told people when they were buying parrots. We said, buy this bird, put him in this cage, you'll have a pet for life. Well, they meant that. Owning a parrot's like owning a 2-year-old kid with a 5-year-old mentality for 80 years. And they do not go off to college. They're homeschooled all their life, and they never grow up. But it's such a great commitment, but you have to be totally committed, because they're such wonderful, wonderful pets to have in your house. Now, this is a Triton cockatoo. This is Miss Frisk, okay? Now, hello, did you see her? You got something else to say? There you go. Now, she is from the islands off the coast of Australia. Sulfur-crested cockatoos are the ones you're probably familiar with, and they are from Australia. There's no difference between the 2 except one thing, and that is Triton cockatoos have beautiful baby blue rings around their eyes. You see the baby blue rings? Sulfur-crested have white rings around their eyes. Tritons come in one size, which is medium, and sulfur-crested come in mediums. They come as lesser, medium, and greater. Okay? Now, cockatoos are the clowns of the parrot world. They're always playing, very, very active. They're also the noisiest members of the parrot family, but they are also the most affectionate members of the parrot family. Very, very needy birds. Like I said, they're very social. So what did we do? We told you to buy this bird. We put him in a cage with a bunch of toys, but then yet we leave for 10 hours. And that's what's wrong, because parents are never alone. From the time they hatch to the time they pass away, they're with their mate and their flock. They don't take time out like we do and go out in the back porch and read a book. They don't go on vacation. So therefore, when we put them in that cage all by themselves, they go nuts. They start screaming till your neighbors start screaming at you to get rid of the bird. Then they start plucking their feathers out, or they start eating their toenails, because they cannot handle being alone. So the best thing to do is to buy two. You have to have double trouble. But do what I did. I raised mine all together. They've never been alone for 18 years, or two boys. They don't care. They have noticed, these two, a cockatoo and a macaw, I raised together. Different species from different parts of the world. They don't have a clue. They think they're brother sister. She loves my hair. So it's very important for you to purchase two. That way you can house them in the same cage. They'll have their partner to play with, to sleep with, and to play with toys and all that. Very important at nighttime, because you know how birds all get real loud and noisy right before the sun comes down. They all go to one tree. Well, that's their protection. They feel comfortable at nighttime. Well, if you have one bird sleeping by itself at night, it's just a natural thing for them to be very, scared. And they see that microwave light, they see the light on the cable box. They're not too sure what's out there. Being with another, bird, or being in your bedroom when you're sleeping, makes them feel more content and stuff. Otherwise, loud birds are unhappy birds. Quiet birds are happy birds, okay? They will do their little singing in the morning and the night, but if a bird squawks all the time, he's not getting enough attention, okay? Now let me tell you some cute little stories about my birds. I have two personal pets that stay in the house. They are 38 years old. And it's very important that when parrots lay eggs, that you let them sit on the eggs. Because if you do not, even though they're not fertile, like if she lays an egg, I let her sit on it. Of course, by the time it hits the floor of the cage, it's usually cracked or something. But still, let her sit on that egg, because she'll sit on it for a week and it won't get warm. And then she'll realize, okay, this is no good, and she'll get off. But now she's had that egg laid. If you pull that egg, she's going to lay another whole bunch of eggs. And that's what I don't like about big breeders. Because big breeders will let the hen lay 3 eggs. They'll take those eggs, he'll shove them in an incubator. She'll go and lay 3 more, and then he'll shove those in an incubator. Then she'll go lay 3 more, and then he'll shove those 3. That's what you call double and triple clutching. Well, hens, the parrots, are only used to laying 1 set of eggs 1 time a year, and sometimes, like hyacinths, the largest member of the macaw family, the blue one here, they might not lay for 2 to 3 years, because it takes forever to wean their children, their first eggs. So you always want to let your birds sit on the eggs. Now, my personal pets laid 2 eggs on my living room floor. I was like, oh no. So I went to Home Depot, got one of those plastic boxes, stuck a towel in it, put the eggs in it, picked up the hen, stuck her in it, put it on my coffee table. The male and the female kept, going back and forth. Well, 32 days later, these darn things hatched. So now I have 2 little babies in my house, and they rule my house. Because I wasn't able to get them out to get them used to being around people. So they're very spoiled, very lovey-dovey. But it was right before the hurricane, so I wasn't able to get them out to get them socialized properly. But they rule my house, and it is just the sweetest thing in the world to go home to. What's funny about them is their talking ability. We teach them how to talk, okay? They don't have a clue what the ABCs are. You have to teach them the ABCs just like you do your kid. So when I come home tonight, it's going to be adorable. I can hear the little girls inside going, hello, hello, and just waiting for me to come in. So finally, I bet these guys all down, give them a little midnight treat. I go inside, I let them out, they come out, how you doing, how you doing? And they look at you, then they climb on top of the cage and they go, hungry! Because I work in the afternoons and evenings sometimes, later in the evenings, and I don't feed them on time. So they get upset. But it's funny, they don't say the ands, they say just hungry. But after you feed them and you get your dinner settled and you go sit on the couch and you watch a TV, it's adorable. They come snuggling up, literally lay on their side with their head here and go, oh, I love you, and go to sleep. And they purr just like cats. They vibrate. I never knew that until I got real close to them, but they purr just like cats. Extremely social, and they'll sleep there. As long as you let them, they'll just sleep right on there. Or they'll sit there and watch TV with you. It's comical. But teaching a bird to talk is very difficult in a way. Because let's say you're the parrot, and I'm going to come home and I'm going to say hello. Well, obviously, that's the first thing you say to a parrot. That's the first thing they're going to learn to say. Well, the second thing that you want to teach that bird is not what comes out of your mouth. It's what you want the bird to say. Okay? So the next thing I would teach the bird is I'd come home and I'd say hello. The bird would say hello, and I would say, great, how was your day? So you work on that sentence, and finally that bird learned how to say, great, how was your day? So now I got a friend with me. I come in and I go, hello. The bird goes, hello, and I go, how was your day? And the bird goes, great, how was yours? There you go. So it's easy to write it down, because you're going to forget. But you can get whole sentences going and stuff. Now, Amazon parrots and African greys are definitely the best talkers. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because they are not flock birds and they only live with their mate. They're not as social as condors and macaws and stuff are. But they are the ones that sing the opera, and the African gray parrots have actually had vocabularies of 240 words. That's a lot of learning how to talk, but very, very smart. Like I said, these guys are so intelligent. Now, when it comes to having a pet bird in your family, okay, too, it's good for younger couples, okay, who are getting together, and then they're going to have children, and they're going to go to college and stuff, because you don't want to buy a 6-month-old baby when you're in your 50s, because they live to be 60, 80 years old. But where you can buy birds when you're older, like me, rehabs, because those birds that the neighbors finally convinced the neighbors to get rid of, well, they go into rehabs because now they have bad habits of screaming and plucking themselves. So what they do, these rehab centers have like 200 birds, and they break the habits, try to break the bad habits from plucking and screaming, and then because they have so many birds, they try to set them up with pals. So you can go there and purchase 2 birds. It's like going to a Humane Society and get an older cat or an older dog, and you can purchase a couple birds they matched up together. They can stay in one cage, so then they won't feel so bad about going on vacation or, taking off and going out to the park for the day and leaving them at home. So that's the way you can have them when you're older. But I would never recommend getting a hand-raised baby when you're older, because you're going to end up having to find a home for it, put it in your will, like 10 years later. And that, it's kind of like getting rid of your kid, which is, they get upset. Now, diet is so important, okay? You see how gorgeous? Let me show you this guy right here. This is Chili Pepper. He's a green-winged macaw. You see how beautiful and shiny this bird is? See how iridescent turquoise, it just shines? Well, if you petted him right now and then you touch your hands, you'd feel oil on your hands, okay? And that's one reason why I can't let anybody pet these guys. Because of the down that they produce. And in macaws, it's oil, okay, from the Amazon, because it's always wet there. So what happens, if I could pour water on him right now, it would completely bead off. Without a good diet, they would not produce this oil. They have a gland right here at the base of their tail. They hit their beak on that gland, and then they take that oil that's on their beak and they run it through all their feathers. This protects them from like sticky sap, from staying clean, and of course the dampness of the Amazon. If they don't have a good diet, they're not going to have this. They're going to stay wet all the time and dirty. They have very weak respiratory systems, so they're going to have a very short life. Now, with the exception of the hyacinth macaw, the spix macaw, and Amazon parrots, they produce their down through every individual feather, okay? Now, cockatoos, on the other hand, they have a gland, same place as the macaws and the condors, but they have a different gland. Anybody wearing black? You are. You want to be my guinea pig? No? Yes? Okay. Watch. You're not. Are you wearing black? Is it black? Yeah, you won't be able to see it. I'll show you right now. Watch my dress, okay? Here, watch this. You see all that white powder?
Dust.
See that white powder on my dress? And you see, they don't shine like the macaw, but when you touch them, see my hand? It's full of powder. So they spit out powder in their gland. It comes right off, you see? Isn't that amazing? Now, if you have any type of allergy, or asthma, or your kids get sick a lot, you do not ever want to own a cockatoo or an African gray parrot, because these two characters are the ones that have the down, and the powder down, and that down will be all over your house. I mean, it sticks to your screens, your wall units, it's everywhere. So I do recommend, if you do have a cockatoo, to get some kind of air filter system in the main room that they're in to help suck some of that up. So, and that does help out, because you're also breathing it. And that's another thing you have to be careful of. A lot of houses are closed up. In the Caribbean, I don't use AC here, so my house is just open all the time. But whatever you spray in your house, if you're spraying bug spray, your bird's going to inhale that. If you're spraying hairspray, your bird's going to inhale that. So you really need to be careful what you spray in the room that they're in, because that can get them sick. Along with, I would love all of you to come up and pet my beauties. But whatever's on your hand goes on their feathers. Whatever's on their feathers, they groom. It goes into their mouth. They digest it. They either get sick or they can pass away, depending on what you have on your hand. Choo, you got a cold, you pet my bird, you're now going to get a cold. If you have off on your hands or lotion with chemicals, they can get sick from that. Also, the oil on your hands mixing with the cockatoos, if you pet them, it clogs up and it gets all moldy, and then they wound themselves, and then they get fungus in their mouths. I actually have to use a vinegar solution sometimes to get that off when they've been petted too much in the past. Now I don't let them pet them anymore, because they used to get mold all over their feathers from being petted too much, because oil and powder just doesn't mix. So diet's very important. Brazil nuts is basically what they eat in the rainforest. I get macadamia nuts. I get them shipped in from California. It's impossible to find Brazil nuts, except for around November, December. But mac nuts you can get all year long. It's great. They're a very oily nut, okay, with lots of vitamins. Peanuts and sunflower seeds are the worst thing to feed a parrot. They have absolutely no vitamin nutrition in them, and they have a fat in them that they cannot digest. It actually causes fatty tumors. So that is a very, very bad diet. That kind of food is not in the rainforest. So fresh fruits and vegetables are very, very important, okay? Living in the Caribbean, I feel very gifted, because I get to grow a lot of mine in my yard. I have mangoes, papaya, passion fruit, guava, you name it, I've got it growing in my yard. And then I try to grow a lot of vegetables on my own too. Like bananas, for instance. I give my bananas, birds don't sit in the tree and peel their bananas and eat the center. They just tear that outside part up, chew on it, and then eat the inside. Well, I can do that because I don't use pesticides on my bananas. But the ones you buy in the store, you can't, because they're loaded full of pesticides. There's nothing wrong with feeding your birds peaches and apricots. It's not a tropical fruit, but they love them. You just cannot feed them the pits. They are toxic to birds. Same with apples. They have to take the seeds out. Citrus is fine, and tropical fruit like mangoes, they like those. Never avocados. For some reason, avocados are just a no-no with parrots, okay? And our local parrot, they don't touch the avocados that grow there. It's amazing how they know what not to eat and stuff. I give my birds also a pellet diet. It's like a dry dog food, but it's made up for birds. Now, just like dry dog food, you can go buy a 50-pound dog food for $10, or you can buy one for $100. It's the $100 ones you're going to want to feed the birds and your dog, because the cheaper foods aren't going to have the proper stuff in it. Harrison's, Zupreme, Pretty Bird, the fibers are the ones that I use. They're really great. But they do need a good mixture. You can't just give them pellets. You got to give them a good mixture of fruits and vegetables also, okay? Otherwise, they will not produce that down and stuff. Now, if you notice this little angel right here, this is a Gotham cockatoo from Indonesia. These guys make excellent pets. They are so playful. Great pets. Now, if you notice, I have one little wing clipped here. Well, normally you would clip just a little bit on each feather. Because if you just cut a little bit on each feather, they can still fly. They just can't get up, okay? But they can fly a long distance. In case someone, like a dog or cat, comes and tries to get them or something, you need them to be able to get away. But living in the Caribbean, I learned right away when I moved here, you gotta clip one, because it acts like a boomerang now. When they take off, they come right back, because I'm surrounded by water. I, for example, do shows at Margaritaville on the beach. And I was a coral when I first came down here. They flew out straight into the ocean. Thank God I ran to the end of the pier and jumped in the water, and I saved my bird. But if they flew out far enough that I couldn't swim out there quick enough, they don't swim. They think. So it's for their protection to clip their feathers, their wings. Does not hurt them at all. It's like hair. Okay? The only way it would hurt them is like if you see Babalu here, you see all these feathers growing in, see they're full of blood. You never want to cut these feathers because those are brand new feathers, okay? That you don't want to touch. They're very sensitive, very sore, and if you cut them, they can't bleed forever, okay? Some birds have actually died, from bleeding too much, okay? When it comes to, like, let's say you're inside the house. I gotta express, it's not cruel, but you must do it for their protection. You come home from work, you let your bird out, but you forgot to turn off the ceiling fans. It's Saturday. It's a beautiful day. You open up the curtains, boom, right in the sliding glass doors. You're in the kitchen cooking dinner, and all of a sudden you hear zap. That's because a bird just flew over and ate the lamp cord. That's why you need to clip your bird's wings. You can take them outside if you go mess with your garden outside. It's great to have them outside. But if they're not clipped and something spoofs them, they're going to fly to a tree. Well, it's a natural behavior for the local birds that live in your neighborhood to attack this strange bird that's in the tree. So then the bird gets nervous, goes to another tree, and now the bird hears you screaming and looks all around at 10 different roofs. Doesn't know which house belongs to them. So they get lost. That's exactly what happens. Now, this is a funny thing that I learned years ago. They have a gland that's right here in their forehead, and I call that, and I'm going to give that a scientific name, I call it their clock. And that clock lives, or survives, or whatever you want to call it, off the length of the day and the hottest time of the day. Let me give you an example. When it's wintertime and the days are real short, and they begin to get long, well, that little clock right there is going to tell this bird it's now time to molt. Now, what's interesting about molting is that when birds, one time a year, they lose a lot of feathers in 1 month, okay? The rest of the year, they just lose a feather here and there all year long. But they'll lose 10 feathers on this side of their body. They will lose the same exact 10 feathers on this side of the body. Does anybody know why? Balance. Because they're full of blood growing in. If they don't grow the same feathers, they won't be able to fly because they're off balance. Isn't that wild? Now, in the Amazon, this is also very unique. Their food source during molting season is always closer to where they nest, where their area of the forest is. They don't have to go as far to get food because they are weighed down when they molt. Now, when you have a pet bird in the house, that bird's going to molt 3 and 4 times a year. Does anybody know why? Because we mess up that clock. It's Saturday, you're outside mowing the lawn. You come in, you grab the wife and the kids, you go down to the dock, you get a hot dog, and then you come back home, it's 9 o'clock at night, you turn on the lights and the bird looks at you and goes, woo, that was a short night. You just messed that clock up. One night you go to bed at 8, one night you stay up till 2. We mess it up. The best thing to be is to cover them up. But you don't want to cover them up at 5, 6 o'clock, because then you would never have any playtime with your parrot, because you'll be gone working during the day, and you come home, he's a part of the family, so you can't cover him up, so you just kind of have to deal with that 3 and 4 molts a year in your house. You'll be picking up a lot of feathers. But this is very interesting. I always like that one. What, are you going to show off here? What? This is Ginger. Yes. Yes. Okay, does anybody have any questions right now? Can we take a break? Any questions? Oh, I can't see anybody up here.